Pasha Paroh Y Net 7. Thank you for tuning. Alright, so we coming today with a real, it ain't gonna be quick, because we ready to go in depth, full review, current state, DarkPulse, right now. I'll get an intro one day, and this is when I'll be like, cue the intro, and it'll be like, alright, so let's get into it, right? So, I don't know if this is like, we got some good news. We got good news. I have a good perspective of the current situation at DarkPulse, and I want to let you know why this is a great time. One, for you to know that this is entertainment purposes only. I'm not an expert. This is just for your entertainment. I'm just here to entertain you with my thoughts and my observations and be entertained. If you want some professional advice, go get that from the professionals. And I ain't got nothing to do with what you do after you watch the Y Net 7 content today. Okay, so with all that out the way, let's get started. I got a few things I want to review with you. Annual report. Let's check out the annual report real quick. You know what? I'm pulling that up here. Let me do this too. Give me 1 second. So, nice little movement, nice little opportunity from the 13th onward. But I want to look at this annual report real quick. Had a nice little dip right on the 8th, like I called. I still think this is the time period now where we're going to see. This is like the start of the window was the 8th. This is where we're at right now is like the end of the window. And it's kind of interesting how, if you watch the last video I did, it's kind of interesting how on the 8th, if you look at it, it was trading flat. Matter of fact, let me do this. Give me a second here. I wasn't going to give you this content, but not to say like I plan not to, but let me put this in for you real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Bum, bum, bum. All right, here you go. Thank you for your patience. Don't worry, you're gonna get a lot of detail here. So if we look at this chart, right? My call was a week out of the 8th, so like right here. And I call this, like you look from here to here, I call that flat. Alright? I call that flat because if we zoom out far enough, it'll be a flat line. Like you pull this up on Google, show you what I'm talking about real quick. And let's say we go out to like a month. See what I'm saying? So here to here, bam, that's flat. Here to here, flat. Okay? And then what happened is right around the 8th, right there at the beginning of my box, it actually took a nice little shift. This is more so the area right here that I'm referring to. And it dropped. Now, my anticipation was that it wasn't going to go any lower than 1.9. I know that's like, oh, that's like all the VAT. Well, 1.9 is where I anticipated, 1.9 cents is where I said it would probably be the rock bottom. I didn't expect it to drop in this shift area here below 3.5, which as of right now, or as you know, the market was closed Friday, but as of right now, Saturday, April 16th, you see we're well above that. Now, that's not to say that there won't still be some activity in the lower area here, but I would consider that a buying opportunity myself. Now, let me get to this annual report here because I want to cover some things with you there. So, we start here, right? Let's see here. So we start here with the annual report. We got all the little basic stuff in the beginning. And it says, although we believe that the expectations reflected in these forward-looking statements are based on reasonable. Now, look, I'm gonna tell you right now. Okay, hold on. Before we even go into this, because it's getting ready to get good, and I want you to understand that it's gonna get better and better and better. And by the end of this video, you're probably gonna want to, you know what, you're gonna understand why I'm like, you know, maybe it's time to just double the position I have. You know what I'm saying? Let's get started. Okay. So, although we believe that the expectations reflected in these forward-looking statements are based on reasonable assumptions, there are a number of risks and uncertainties that cause results to differ materially from such forward-looking statements, and they include they're saying that, you know, the unprecedented impact of the pandemic on business, customers, employees, subcontractors, consultants, service providers, stockholders, investors, and other stakeholders. It's nothing new to any of us at this point in time. So the impact of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine on our operations, So, okay, let's keep going. Geopolitical events such as the crisis in Ukraine, government responses to such events, and the related impact on the economy, both nationally and internationally. You know, sanctions come up, all kinds of stuff. There's already supply chain issues, etc., etc., etc. So their ability to raise sufficient capital and continue to fund operating expenses, our ability to get technology to work in accordance with our technical specifications or specs, and our ability to attract customers to our products once they are developed, and our ability to generate sales of our products once they are developed, which kind of goes with the, you know, this up here. So our ability to attain and retain the necessary personnel with the expertise needed to ensure that we can operate the company effectively. So actions or inactions of third-party contractors and vendors, okay? Our ability to successfully patent and protect our intellectual property and the general economic conditions. So in reality, I see all of these as great opportunities, okay? So the unprecedented impact with COVID, that's something everybody's going through, but it's going to make, it's going to give us a great opportunity as the world rebounds and comes out of that, because they're going to be looking to change up everything from the way they did it before, which is mean they're going to need the implementation of new technologies, new securities, new all kinds of stuff. So guess who's in position if they, you know, once that time arrives. So the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, I'm going to show you how that right there might save, I ain't going to say save, but be a catalyst for growth for us in this outfit. So geopolitical events, that's going to go along with what I just said. The ability to raise sufficient capital and continue to fund operating expenses, that's going to be a great opportunity there. I have a remedy for that as well. And our ability to get our technology to work in accordance with our technical specs. So when you have really tight tolerances and you're dealing with supply chain issues, that could be a reason why. It could just be the actual development process itself. Basically, you're going through R&D. You got these goals you want to hit, and how close are you to really making that a reality? Is it going to take more funding to get to that development point, or is the all kinds of questions come up. So there could be optimization and the like with that in that arena that'll neutralize that as a negative impact. So our ability to attract customers to our products once they're developed, that's really the sales team. I mean, there's too much opportunity for that to be an issue right now. So I think sometimes this is a good opportunity for you to weed out the the crowd of people around you, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Like, get all the shaky people, the scared people, the people that's just out to try and make, not to say that you can't make a couple dollars here and there on the day trade side or the swing trade side, but if you don't have a position in this long term, this type of communication as far as this annual report is probably going to be really scary to you. You know what I mean? We're going to go through it, and I'm going to point out some things, and most people are going to probably be really afraid when they hear this stuff, but that's because they don't understand the risk is the opportunity. And I like what I see here. There is some room for improvement, and I'm going to go over all that with you now. So let's get it. Where I want to get to here. Okay, so here. All right, so we have made and expect to continue to make acquisitions that could disrupt our operations. And by all means, feel free to go ahead and read the whole annual report. I've read the majority of it, and I want to point out a few things. So if you want the completely comprehensive annual report, just go ahead and Google that and take a review. This is what I'm pulling this from, so you can see it with your own eyes here. So the portions that I cover, that is. So we have made and expect to continue to make acquisitions that could disrupt our operations and harm our operating systems or operating results, right? So it says our growth depends upon market growth, our ability to enhance our existing products, and our ability to introduce new products on a timely basis. We intend to continue to address the need to develop new products and enhance existing products through acquisitions of other companies, product lines, technologies, and personnel. Acquisitions involve numerous risks, including the following, okay? And this is where every one of these bullet points that we review here, the scared people are going to be scared, and the others are going to see this as a great opportunity. Is how I look at it, okay? So, 1 second there. All right. So difficulties in integrating the operations, systems, technologies, products, and personnel of the acquired companies, particularly companies with large and widespread operations or complex products. Diversion of management's attention from normal daily operations of the business and the challenges of managing larger and more widespread operations resulting from acquisitions. Potential difficulties in completing projects associated with in-process research and development intangibles. So difficulties in entering markets in which they have no or limited direct prior experience, and where competitors in such markets have stronger market positions. Basically, they'll be the newcomers on the block, right? So they got to wedge their way up in there and make space for DarkPulse, make room. So initial dependence upon unfamiliar supply chains, because when you bring in these new companies, they are familiar with the supply chains, but we don't know about them. You know what I mean? And we don't know how they feel about us, and are they able to work long term? That's all going to be questions on the table that's fair and need to be assessed. So insufficient revenue to offset increased expenses associated with acquisitions. So you're going to bring in this company, it's got a cost just like anything else you acquire, and then you're going to have to put some more money in there because, like I said, might need to make some changes. You might not like how this works. You might need to bring in, change that. So you're going to do some renovation in the actual facilities as well as the processes and all in between. So there's added expense there, and then you have the additional cost of making sure that outfit can operate. So there's an operational expense with that as well that you're inheriting. So those are all valid points. Don't look at them as crises. So the potential loss of key employees, customers, distributors, vendors, and other business partners of the companies we acquire following the continuing after the announcement and acquisition plan. So that's basically goes, like we talked about, again, something new. You're going to shake up some stuff. Some things may stay with you. Some things may not. We just did a video covering a court case where the banking agency comes in, and when there's a failing institution, their protocol is to get rid of all of the upper management because that's what got them in that position. Now, acquisitions don't always mean that the other entity was failing, but I'm just pointing it out there to say, there's going to be normally changes associated when there's a takeover. So acquisitions may also cause us to issue common stock that would dilute the current shareholders percentage. Anybody that's been in the market for any time knows that that's the case. Raise the capital, all that good stuff you got to do during that time, which gives us of course, a decrease, a dilution, but it's a great buy-in point because we know where we're going in the future from there. So use a substantial portion of the cash resources to incur debt. Self-explanatory. Sufficiently increase our interest expense, leverage, and debt service requirements if we incur additional debt to pay for an acquisition. And you assume in liabilities, and then there's these other bullet points here. So what I want to cover is I see that the market volatility as it's a profit opportunity. Just like we maximize use of the volatility of the market for our gains and our benefits as investors. The volatility of the market, I see that as the same opportunity for DarkPulse leadership. So then you have enough pieces in place in and outside of the network to be able to seize the moment faster than average, and the time frames, that is. Like, so they had supply chain issues, but because you've taken the time to acquire certain entities, you're able to produce a lot of the stuff yourself. You just got to get the raw materials. There's elements that factor to a quicker turnaround time that others aren't going to be able to produce. That's going to benefit us in the long run. So volatility is going to work to their advantage, just like good positioning for any investor, right? As far as this here, where we get into some other things down here, there's a convertible. They've talked about the debts that they had, the toxic debts that they had, that they're looking to. I like the transparency of it all. It's nothing new to us. They said they've been working to clean up toxic debt and replacing it with better debt. So even those bullet points are actually sensible, So, and what am I talking about here? There's a convertible. Where is it talking about it at? Hold on, let me find it. But basically, there's a convertible. Where is that? I passed it. These annual reports be so much information. I should have labeled it. So it's a convertible debenture, right? Debenture. Excuse the pronunciation. So basically, the security holder, one of the risks is that the security holder could take possession of the assets. Um, that's something that it sounds horrendous, but it's basically just what's going on in the world right now. So um, it makes sense when you just look at it for what it is instead of trying to make something terrible sounding out the situation, right? So give me a second here, because now this is all right here. So the escalating global tensions included, right? Including conflict between Russia and Ukraine. I'm gonna show you why this is gonna work to our advantage, and then this right here is just what they've already told us, that they're basically clearing up toxic debt. We knew about this risk 2020. You know what I'm saying? So that's nothing new to us. All right, let me check my notes, see what else I got for you. Yeah, they're all the stuff that we covered, the insufficient revenue, the potential loss of key employees, all that stuff. They're typical problems, right? That how I want to say, they're typical problems and good ones actually to have when acquisitions are your main topic. I think personally, I like the sound of these issues, and there's nothing that your regular green belt, like not even one with super experience, could easily optimize in a year or two with a good team and get the ball rolling, so that these bullet points will get quickly resolved by DarkPulse, I'm sure. Barring outside influence of factors discussed, right? So this is a good way to get rid of the scared now. Like I said, let's take a look at some of the activity that's going on recently. All right, so I'm sure you guys heard about the Progress Humanity. Now we're going to start to showcase what is working to our advantage here. Okay, so Pasha, what you talking about? For those that don't know, DarkPulse in just last month in March announced the partnership with Progress Humanity. All right, so how it always starts off telling you about DarkPulse, and then it's going to tell you a little bit about Progress Humanity. Focuses exclusively on making the world a better place through culturally integrative international communication campaigns. With programmers, analysts, and policymakers, Progress Humanity develops key solutions to conduct business internationally through understanding cross-border political dynamics, regional and global relationships, government policies and programs, and local regulations. So this critical insight is imperative for DarkPulse as it enters new markets across the globe. So not only do you now have like your own social media, Twitter, Facebook, behind the scenes tentacles drawing in all the information from around the world, little ears and eyes everywhere type system. But let's look at what they actually do, because they're going to need your services as well, right? So they're into media programming. This is Progress Humanity. So a team of experienced programmers. Basically, Progress Humanity has been creating multimedia broadcast and streaming productions that combine text with sound. So they're very well connected with social media and streaming and media platforms, right? Think about this long term. Who needs advertising during the Super Bowl when you can run a social media campaign from an expert standpoint that reaches exactly not only the clients you're looking for as a company or a business, but at the same time it serves as great PR portals for both the Gen Pop and your government, plural, alike, right? So, strategic communications, boom, you already know what that is. I mean, it's all there. They're going to be all into that. Now, here's where it starts to get interesting, right? Advanced analytics and planning. This is what I'm talking about. So, Progress Humanity initiatives combine advanced computing technology with international communications programs to prevent conflict. Now, think about this. I know a lot of you have asked me about, you're waiting on the smart cities for the big return, the big payout. I think you got the wrong view here. The big payout is going to come. The payouts are going to arrive long before the smart cities do, because the gold mine is going to be in the proof of concepts of the micro components, so to speak, of what it will take to put a smart city together, and that's going to be perfected in advance of smart city rollout, so that by the time the smart cities projects come together, they'll have proof of concept of all these other components that need to go into that. So check this out here. If you're going to have these cities that are going to be linked all within, and then probably with other cities, now you see how the data connecting and the data interpretation and all that manipulation is going to be very, very critical to understand. Boom. Boom. Major play here, right? Because what did it say? Advanced analytics and planning. So the results are shared with the public and policymakers. Our team uses data-driving, advanced-based assessments, scientific principles of inquiry, and behavioral science from our nationwide or from our network of expert data scientists. So think about it. You, in theory, at some point in the future, your whole city's going to be wired with 5G Internet of Things and DarkPulse technology in conjunction is going to be able to know where every footstep is taken in the city, at what time that footstep hit, how much that person weighed, what was their heart rate, all of this stuff. This is major component to that. They have to understand this. I really think this annual report means nothing long term, because this is what's going to happen. Stay with me here. I'm taking my time, but you'll see that it's well worth it. You guys that's rocked with me for since the beginning of me covering DarkPulse know that I'm a perfectionist, and I don't often. I'm really accurate. Okay, so in my entertainment, right? So here we go. Monitoring, and also part of this partnership with Progress Humanity is, what else they do is monitoring and evaluation polling. So equipped with rich data, right, we implant politically smart projects that lead to sustainable results. So you're going to have a monitoring system on one side, and then another system that can actually calculate and do adjustments, right, because of the analytics part. And you have another element that wants to make sure it's being led to sustainable results. I mean, this is almost like artificial intelligence zone. You know what I mean? So we continually evaluate our work to holistically take stock of program successes and identify areas for improvement, right? Boom. So scalable portfolio management, all right? Advanced economic and geopolitical forecasting. Oh, okay. You mean like you're actually predicting conflicts before they happen, right? Oh, that's part of what you guys said you do. So countering violent extremism programming. What is that? Again, remember, once this grid goes up, right? So countering violent extremism programming, countries across the world are fighting a growing threat of violent extremism. Many have begun implementing Countering Violent Extremism, CVE, interventions to prevent or divert individuals from radicalizing to violence. Such CVE interventions run a gamut of large-scale government counterterrorism operations to smaller-scale online and counter-messaging campaigns. Progress Humanity works with countries leading experts in this field. Wow. Wow. I mean, the access to information alone that this partnership is going to provide, and the people that they're connected with are going to instantly become contacts for business because of what the nature of the business is. So this is a huge partnership, and then counter disinformation programming. So this is huge. This is a huge partnership. But guess what? This is just gonna be. It's gonna be so small in comparison to what I'm going to show you. All right. So if you made it this far, go ahead and get the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, and now let's get to why I brought you here today. So you gotta reward the people that stay with you. You know what I'm saying? All right. So y'all know I say subscribe because I'm not one of them people that are like, yo, tune in every Thursday, 4 o'clock. I'll be here. No, I'm not. I'll be here when I get ready, okay? And then there might not even be nothing that I want to talk to you about that day. If I was doing something on some sort of special routine, like that's just, I'm not committing to that. 48 laws of power, what? Law 20, I think. You know what I mean? Come on. When the notification bell dings, you know you got some good information. Let's get it. All right, so here's what you probably already know for a lot of you, but may not be thinking about right now. And I'm going to show you why right now its value has skyrocketed in my perspective. You ready? Let's go. Excuse me. Okay, so DarkPulse, back in January, right? DarkPulse announced plans for an IPO of its subsidiary Optilan, right, on the New York Stock Exchange. Now remember, one, you got your basic principles of, hey, we're going to need some more money. Where are we going to get it from? Let's get creative. We don't want to keep taking loans if we don't have to. So you know what, Optilan, you're going public. You know what I'm saying? All right, so what is this? What is this all about, right? Why are you bringing this up, Pasha? Well, you know, what makes this special right now? What makes it so special is its timing. Okay, we know where Optilan is. It's across the Atlantic, right? So the timing of this is perfect. But to completely understand what it makes it special, you gotta look at the team. You gotta look at the team. All right. And what I mean by that is, this is what I mean by that. Let me get you on the screen here. All right, so here go O'Leary, okay? Now, first of all, I'm gonna tell you what we need to do. The Davidson, so you got Leary. Everybody know Leary. You got your science guy. You know, you got him basically out of college or something, right? And he's doing his thing. Echo, we'll talk about him in a moment. Davidson, right here, Chief Operating Officer and Director of U.S. Operations for Oil and Gas Renewable Energies. What we gotta do is Davidson. If you look at his background here, Davidson served in multiple senior leadership roles across a broad range of major projects in both public and private companies in health, safety, security, and environmental space. Brings over 37 years of key account business development and project management experience to DarkPulse, right? His experience includes major oil, gas, maritime, aviation, and pipeline construction, recovery and repair projects up to $1.5 billion in value, with over 1,000 employees on the Shell and Chevron major projects. Now that sound That sounds amazing. But here's what we need to do. We need to take Davidson. He got too many roles. Okay? We need to downsize his responsibility to simply the director of the U.S. operations for oil, natural gas, energies, like that. Okay? So basically, we need to relinquish him of the chief operating officer, because his specialty is in that oil, gas, renewable energies field. Let him be the director and focus on doing the director things, getting that popping. Bring in another expert subject matter, somebody to specialize. Bring in a COO with a SME factor in growth. See, because the way I look at it, right? The way I look at it, and like, appreciate y'all rocking me with this, because what I want to do in the future, I want to be that guy that pulls up, buys a business, optimizes their processes and their financials, and then either keeps them in my own personal portfolio and or sell them for a profit. Okay, so this is good exercise for me. So when I'm looking at this situation and looking at the history, this is my observation for your entertainment. So I say we need to bring in a specialized COO with a SME factor in growth, because Davidson's oil industry background is just what it is. It's the oil industry. When I think oil, and that, from that whole pipeline from ground to finished product, I think it's something that's really, really consistent, really stable, really old, too stagnant. You know what I mean? When you look at it, because it was a monopoly industry. Like, what I mean when I say monopoly industry is, I mean that it's one of those 100-year-old, 200-year-old companies that's just so large. And I know you're like, no, there's a bunch of companies in it. No, but look at oil itself as just, it's just what it is. You know what I mean? Like, you don't get no, you got different qualities of oil, but it's just oil. It's not like cars where you're going to have different what they call driving experiences, and eventually one may get played out. Things change. Like, people want to go fast now, so even Jeep brought out the Trackhawk. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have the excitement, the opportunities, in you're just making oil. I mean, you're pulling it out the ground, you run it through the distillery. It's got different levels. They give you kerosene, they give you gas, give you natural gas, they give you fuels, oils. That's it all day long. Really, when you look at something that's driving growth or loss there, it's normally the most growth and loss factors are really due to, like, either political or weather related trends. It has nothing to do with how innovative the business was. You know what I mean? His governing of the COO position may be a handicap, and both roles then suffer due to lack of focus, which, I'll speak on more shortly here. But that's what we need to do, in my opinion, with Davidson. We need to give him a fair shake, because that COO position is really, really important for us, our goals here in the future. So we need someone that can come in and focus. Now, what I want to go into next, right, is this is going to key into why the Ukraine and Russia conflict is going to basically be the gold rush, so to speak, for DarkPulse if they play it, when we play our cards right. I see this, and if I had the chess pieces, I would put them in position, and this would be our gambit. So when you look at O'Leary, okay, make sure I got him up here for you guys. So we look at O'Leary, all right. Again, here we go. I'm going to talk about this too. CEO, CFO. I'm gonna tell you who I'm gonna give you a sample of what we need to do in the CFO position, and he's also chairman of the board. But let's look at his background here, right? Let me put this together for you real quick. So when you look at his background, okay, super critical to this point I'm making is he's a research member of the NATO Science and Technology Organization. He's going to be live on Fox tomorrow at 8:20 a.m. too, Eastern Daylight Time, which I think is I think that's 7:20 Eastern Standard Time right now, right? You know, these time zones, man. So now he's a research member of the NATO Science and Technology Organization. I'm gonna come back to that in a moment, but you also got keep in mind, that's what I'm saying, the conflict, Russia and NATO, Russia and Ukraine, okay, and this is for entertainment purposes only. All right, so you got also director and board member Carl Eckel. I'm gonna come back to Larry in a moment. All right, so you got Carl Eckel here. Okay, here go Carl. Now Carl is a U.S. military veteran with over 35 years of defense communication system development and support experience. Put that in your logbook, in your notebook. Okay? Like I said, when you come to YNet 7, have your notebook. Because you're going to hear something, and I don't care what video you watch. I don't care if it's a topic you came here for, something that you don't normally watch. When you watch a YNet 7 video, you're going to wish you had a notebook. There's going to be something in every video you're going to want to write down. All right, remember that. Why? Because we netting 7. YNet 7, that's why. So look, now you also have on a team going by Dr. Joseph Catalino. All right? Here you go. Now, Catalino, okay, is a chief strategy officer currently. Now, he spent time working for the DOD, right, the U.S. Department of Defense, and the Pentagon, you know, as the U.S. Defense Department representative on the White House COVID task force in 2020. Now, he interfaced there with multiple senior directors on the National Security Council and interagency leadership, right? So he represented the U.S. Defense Department also at the 6th Abu Dhabi Strategic Debate on Regional Stability in the Middle East, 2019. So these are all recent things, right? Now let's go back to O'Leary. This is what the focus should be. Okay? I'm not going to say it should be. This is what the focus should be. All right. Now, you already know you got your basic infrastructure stuff. Okay? Rebuild the infrastructure. And what I mentioned in the last video is you can't expect a trigger on infrastructure without something super destructive. It might have been in the comments. Somebody was chatting on the comments, and I think I may have mentioned it there. But if you go look at those comments in the last video, you can't rush the need. I mean, granted, it'd be nice if we go out there and get that new bridge everywhere tomorrow, right? Because then you feel safer, knock on wood, in theory, about the current situation with the infrastructure on a large scale. However, a catalyst of that would be destruction, right? So now going back to O'Leary and a research member of NATO Science and Technology Organization. Now, why is that important, Pasha? Because if we go and look at the NATO map, I told you you're going to want to take some notes. I told you how we come, right? So look, here's the NATO map. Boom. We going in here. I'm not this. If you're not doing this much work to know why you in a position, then, just come to YNet 7 when it comes to DarkPulse and the stocks that I'm going to be covering for you, because this is how exclusive we go. This is how deep we go. Okay? All right, so when you look at this, right, of course you got the U.S., Canada, but let's go over here and let's get a good eyes on this situation here. So here's Russia, here's Moscow, here's Ukraine. And some of y'all may have been researching enough to know, or, ears open, eyes pinpointed on the topics, going by the screens to know that, there's been some history with Ukraine and Russia related to NATO. And, well, let's just take a look at the history of the stuff here. Let me not even waste your time. There's a 3-minute video here on CNN Politics. I'll let you check out here real quick.
To understand NATO's role in this crisis, I want to take a step back and look at the history of NATO. It started as a Western-led military alliance during the Cold War to protect against one threat, the Soviet Union. Today, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO as it's known, is also the most powerful defense alliance between the United States and Western Europe. So let's go back to the beginning. NATO was set up in 1949 as the Cold War escalated. Its main aim was to counter the spread of post-war communism as the Soviet Union tried to expand its reach. The organization originally consisted of only 12 countries: Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, the UK, and of course, the United States. Several other countries, including Turkey, joined a few years later. Perhaps the most central feature of NATO's mandate is spelled out in Article 5 of its founding treaty, which states that an attack against one member is an attack against all. So in theory, that means that the resources of all of its member states, which according to NATO is about 3.5 million people, can be deployed for NATO's missions. And since the US military is the largest in the alliance, it effectively means that any country under NATO's umbrella is under US protection. When the Soviet Union fell in 1991, NATO chose to adapt rather than dissolve. And while the way that it handles threats has evolved over time, the principle of collective defense remains central, like using peacekeepers in Bosnia in the 1990s and deploying Air Force personnel to Turkey during the First Gulf War. NATO's also been criticized for some more controversial moves, like its bombings of the former Yugoslavia in 1999, which included the bombing of the Chinese embassy there. The first and only time that Article 5 was invoked was in 2001, following the September 11th attack on the US Pentagon and Twin Towers in New York. NATO countries joined the invasion of Afghanistan, and the alliance continued throughout the years of the war. Today, NATO has 30 member countries, and the organization says that each member has equal say in the decisions made for the organization. But expansion has created tension. NATO's moved its weaponry on the borders close to Russia, which it says is all above board. But Russia, long distrustful of this alliance, has asked for ironclad guarantees that NATO won't expand further east into countries like Ukraine or Finland. As Russia amasses troops on the Ukrainian border now, the world is watching.
Okay, so the title of this particular article, if you want to check it out, is actually Finland and Sweden could soon join NATO, prompted by Russian war in Ukraine. And this was just like a week ago. This article from Jennifer Hansler and Natasha Bertrand. All right. So now, if we go back to the map, you can see that Ukraine is possibly we're looking to become a member of NATO now, right? And you have now Finland and Sweden. So now that's going to be a catalyst for NATO's expansion into Sweden, Finland, and potentially Ukraine, which may also cause some of the other people, smaller and maybe not, to also maybe be more interested in joining. And you can see Moscow right there, basically right over the border, as this surrounding effect would occur, right? So with that being said, you gotta go back to the video. Remember that this NATO situation, right, is the North Atlantic Alliance, or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, okay? And it's the most powerful, quote unquote, most powerful defensive alliance between North America and Western Europe. It didn't say the most powerful economic. It didn't say the most powerful, anything else it could have said. NATO is the most powerful, in quotation marks, defense alliance between North America and Western Europe. It also stated in that video from CNN, if you like quotes, NATO was established with one thing in mind: defense against Russia. So, in looking at the map, this invasion only makes NATO's mission statement that much more valid than it was 50, 60 years ago. Why is that important? Well, like I stated, O'Leary is a research member of NATO Science and Technology Organization. If you're going to need to defend, right, or is there going to be a escalation in the wanting of defense for all of Western Europe, well, could you see DarkPulse having a great wall, so to speak, of DarkPulse running down from Finland, Ukraine to Turkey? How would that look? What kind of budget would that be as income or revenue? Right? So, with that on the table, you got to actually, there's one piece that DarkPulse is missing, okay? There's one piece that DarkPulse is missing as I see it, all right? And that's going to help it surge over the dollar mark for sure. Now, that's a CFO. And I know what you're going to say, because it just happened this week, right? Let me pull it up for you. Hold on, let me find it. I have it on one of these tabs. Prefab, ready to go for you. Right? Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, here we go. So, right here, February 1st, right? It was announced. And then the title is DarkPulse today announced that Ross Tweeddale will be joining Optilan as Chief Financial Officer effective March 7th. So it went into effect a little over a month ago. Now here's the gift and the curse of that. Yes, let me read this first paragraph here for you. So Ross brings with him over 20 years financial experience gained across a wide range of roles, including leading financial functions in the energy and infrastructure sector, with his latest role being at the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority. Prior to that, Ross spent 6 years at National Grid, holding a variety of roles, including financial reporting for the National Grid's UK division, as well as the National Grid Ventures, the group's growth arm operating in competitive markets across the UK and US, where he supported merger and acquisition activity. Now, at first glance, I have to say, this is a move in the right direction. Okay? Ross spent 6 years, right? National Grid's UK division, growth arm, right? Operating in competitive markets, which is what one of their bullet points of struggle. One of our bullet points of struggle, right? So operating in competitive markets, he got some experience there. He's going to be able to help out as a CFO. In the UK and USA. Then on top of that, he supported mergers and acquisitions. Now, what I hear also in that is what you're struggling for with the mergers and acquisitions. And I see this as actually being a cheaper way to get things quickly turned around there. I ain't gonna say turned around, but a cheaper, quicker way to serve as a catalyst for upward swing in revenue. Okay, if that makes sense to you guys. All right, yeah. What I mean is that while you look at his experience, I don't see any super home runs. I see, he played a supporting role, which means that he supported mergers and acquisitions. And I know I may be nitpicking, but I mean, he was in the room, he was involved in the processes, so he's witnessed a lot of that arena, which may bring some relief to some of the pain points and questions that we have. But here's the thing, he's coming in as CFO for Optilan. So that's what I mean. DarkPulse is the parent company. Optilan is a subsidiary. So by putting them in Optilan, not to say they didn't need one because of their own entity, but you're getting this resource for probably cheaper than it would be to bring them into the parent company as the same position. So you can help extract some information that you need, but also the benefit, that's why I say it's cheaper on a catalytic approach, but it still is leaving room for DarkPulse to actually bring in their own CFO dedicated to DarkPulse as a whole. All right, I've personally been waiting for that to take place, and I think that's going to be something super critical to get DarkPulse over the dollar mark relatively quickly. I'm not worried about the long-term financials and the stuff that we were talking about. I mean, every business has risks that it goes through, but I think with what they're dealing with, they have a great opportunity. So yeah, if we go back and look at this issue here, this conflict should be a huge catalyst, and this NATO expansion, if it happens, they're just Optilan being combined with the timing of them projected to be going public as an IPO. Don't get me all involved in the technical terminology. Is it an IPO? Is it a spinoff? I'm not that technical, right? I mean, yes, they were their own private company. Yes, they are wholly owned now by DarkPulse. Yes, they are a subsidiary of DarkPulse, which if DarkPulse had created them and organized them as a subsidiary, they could spin them off as an IP, as a spinoff. But I don't know what you want to call it. Who cares? At the end of the day, it's money, all right? Because with the Optilan going public, that's going to bring in revenue to be able to handle on the spot the finances to fund some of these large projects you may get commissioned for, and not have to worry about resources, outside of the way the contract is set up. Now, Pasha, who do you think, what are you looking for in a CFO? Well, I'm looking for someone that can come in with a focus on acquisitions and mergers. And I don't mean in a sense of, supporting it. I mean in actually being the one that calls the shots to take the brand from where it's at to a position that it would be looked upon to be acquired by another corporation. Not that I want to see DarkPulse sold, but what happens is if you can develop that package, you're going in the right direction as a brand. So if you watch the other stocks I've covered in the past, I'm a fan of when I see someone come in that has experience in building a company up and putting them in position to be sold later on. You got to know that's profit. That's profit focus. So a couple names, I don't know if they're still available, right? But you got David Berlin, okay? Excuse me. You got Barcia. Now, he's going to give you some experience in making some money, but I don't think it's a perfect fit. I have a more better, and it's just some random people I found off, the toptile.com. So, but just to show you what I'm looking at here. So this guy, Bartlin, 25-year finance veteran, true 360 experience. Now he's an investment banker, venture advisor, and project developer. So his expertise still isn't a perfect match, I don't think. Although he's been, he's venture growth. He's got some numbers, 16 billion. Here's what I would like to see us look for. Something like this. Jeff Anapolsky, okay? He's already in Houston. Now this, I don't know if he's still available, but these are freelance. So, it could be an interim position offered. It could be whatever you want to do. But something like this is what I think we need to have on our team. All right? I would like to see this. And if you look down here, you got your little sales pitch here. Jeff is a seasoned professional who enjoys overcoming financial challenges during rapid change. Boom. If the verbiage is accurate, that's our guy. You know what I'm saying? So, but let's keep reading. So he contributes over 20 years of elite training, clever insights, relevant experiences, and meaningful connections to help companies reach their highest potential. You gotta really love the penmanship here. So, or you gotta know that the penmanship is love, rather. So with a private equity background and a Harvard MBA, Jeff partners with the talented operators to attract institutional capital by delivering financial excellence in forecasting, reporting transactions, FP&A, audits, taxes, and business planning. So he's going to make sure you get that bread, all right, that we need. So here's some things, 13-week cash forecast, So he led a turnaround here team, okay, for a service company, implemented internal controls, upgrade QuickBooks to NetSuite. I don't know if that's the case that's going on here, but I mean, little stuff like this can make a huge difference. You'd be surprised. So created a 13-week cash forecast, complete audit, taxes. That's probably standard issue stuff, right? So he advised and led bidder purchasing, a technology company. So he's familiar with like the buying and selling of technology companies. Prepared financial model and investor presentation, that's probably standard issue. Assisted due diligence, capital raising, and transaction negotiation. So he created a financial model and wrote an investor presentation for an aerospace defense startup to raise institutional capital. This is the type of stuff we need. All right. Now we go down to here. What was I wanting to share here? So, author of case studies, got case studies on American Airlines bankruptcy and subsequent merger, right? Case study on the bankruptcy of Radio Shack, all right? Case studies on the merger of oil and gas, a portfolio company, right? And to gain access to over 300 Rice MBA alumni. So, but what he's done is he's a person that's going to be able to serve as an investment professional for the buyouts and financing of distressed middle market companies for a private equity firm with $12 billion under management. Okay, and what I'm bringing it out is distressed middle market companies. See, so he has the history of experience with distressed companies. Not saying that DarkPulse is distressed, but when you've been studying distressed companies, you know how they got distressed. So that means you kind of know what steps you need to take to prevent them from sliding that direction. And then he's also experienced in building them up and making them ready for sale. He may not be the LeBron James of that category, but it's a well-balanced package, and I think that's a good fit for what we need. It'll definitely get us going in the right direction. It'll free up the other assets we have in leadership to be more focused on their newly narrowed position, responsibilities at that point, and that's going to equate to greater return on investment across the board. So that is my brief after the annual review of everything that's going on. I think everything it's always the perfect day, you know how I say. But I think if you know what we're looking at here, that it's great to be a great time to be involved with DarkPulse, and everything has some risks that we know. And when you're dealing with over-the-counter OTC stocks or pink slips, whatever you want to call it, you know there's a lot more risk involved. But what they're doing is that we know their technology is far superior. That whole story about, we don't know if we're going to be able to sell it to the people. Yeah, well, guess what? You're going to get a huge bunch of contracts. We're going to get a huge bunch of contracts because of the crisis situation, the conflict situation, the growth of NATO. All you need is something to bridge the gap to there. You get ready to get a huge set of contracts for infrastructure rebuilding, and everything else will fall into place. Is that the R&D will be able to breathe easier and take their time developing products, because haste makes waste. We don't want to rush. We don't want you to rush. So take your time, develop the products properly, get the contracts, go ahead and secure, put the whole perimeter fence up around Western Europe, get that money, rebuild the whole infrastructure of the world, get that money. And I mean, you guys are going to be the next triple billion-dollar company or something, triple trillion. We're going to be double T, triple trillion. All right. So just take your time. I got a little greenbelt experience. I got some greenbelt experience myself. Last project I did realized won $750,000 in annual increase in sales potential. So, if you need some help, just give me a call. I'll be here. All right. We'll talk numbers. Hey, I'm Pasha Paroh Y Net 7. Thank you for tuning.